Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon on the East Coast. It's early morning on the West Coast. Listen, I'm going to cut right to it. It's been a hell of a past week here in the United States of America. Another really bad week for democracy and for freedom and for this republic. Three things I want to talk about with you quickly, and then I'm going to do a more detailed, lengthy podcast and have a guest on to discuss this. But three things. Number one, I want to talk about what happened at the University of Virginia, being that I live here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the absolutely appalling attack on academic freedom on the president of the University of Virginia. That's number one, by the president of the United States. Number two, I want to talk about the Supreme Court, who continues to make really bad decisions. They're clearly partisan. This is not a neutral court like the Warren Court or the Burger Court or even the Rehnquist Court. This is a partisan, political, right-wing court. And then thirdly, I want to talk about something that affects people like me on a very serious level. You know, as we look at this birthright citizenship attack, and the Attorney General of the United States made clear that although they had a partial win at the Supreme Court yesterday, she made clear that they're coming back in the fall term to finish it off. Now, I don't want to complicate this birthright issue because I know for a lot of folks, we start getting into the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments. That's complicated. I get it. But a few quick things. Number one, yes, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments absolutely apply to formerly enslaved persons. They were added to the Constitution by the then radical Republicans. Can you believe that shit? That once upon a time, the Republicans were the good guys. They were the white hats. Well, they're not that anymore. But the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution first got rid of slavery. Next, guaranteed that the former slaves would have equal protections under the law and birthright rights here as citizens of this country. And the 15th Amendment gave black men, not black women, the right to vote, okay? So, yeah, the conservatives are right when they say, well, we're doing this because these amendments were meant for black people and not for brown people and other immigrants, etc. Okay, well, yeah, that's not what jurisprudence has done for the last 150 plus years. The case law, the Supreme Court has affirmed and reaffirmed many times that 14th Amendment, that equal protection due process clause of the Constitution, is the linchpin of who we are post the Civil War. It guarantees freedom for everybody. It guarantees that if you're born in this country, even if your parents are immigrants, even if your parents are not citizens, you are born here. How does this affect me? Well, I'm one of those special babies that was, quote unquote, born a citizen abroad. My birth certificate comes from the State Department, not from New Jersey, not from California, not from Virginia or Kansas. I have a special birth certificate that can only be accessed through the Department of State. My parents, both U.S. citizens, my father born and raised in New Jersey, my mother born and raised in California. And in both of those instances, my parents who are citizens went abroad with my mother, her father who was serving, and my father was serving himself. And when they got married and had me a year later, they're both citizens. I was born at an army hospital on a military base and given instant status by my birth. I'm one of the few people who can be president of the United States, even though I wasn't born on American soil in this country, because the army hospital I was born in is considered American soil, and my parents are both citizens. Does that make sense? However, we've got at least one case where someone with my similar circumstance, one parent was an immigrant, has been deported, a 45-year-old. Folks, this shit is serious. And we've got to get off our asses, and we've got to get focused, and we got to get engaged, and we got to get over worrying about our phones, our comfort, our vacations, and how much money we got in the bank, and all the stuff that we worry about, particularly those of us who are well educated and live a middle and upper middle class life. We're the worst at this. Because the people who every day go to work, the people who are pinching pennies to put shoes on the kids and put food on the table, they feel this every day. Those of us who don't show up and vote, the independents in this country who are sitting on every election and not showing up, shame on you. In the Commonwealth of Virginia last week, we had a primary. The Democrats had a primary. And only 28% of the electorate showed up in the Commonwealth of Virginia. 28%. And in Virginia, we're one of the few states where independents like me can vote. Republicans, Democrats, everybody can vote. But only 28% actually showed up. And do you not see what is going on in our country right now? Folks, this is a 3-alarm fire. This is not a joke. This is not time to sit back and opt out. The President of the United States is out of control. The Congress, the House has ceded its power, so is the Senate, because they are on the Trump train. They are MAGA. The Democrats are basically powerless, and after the New York City primary have shown themselves to be in complete disarray about who they are, who they want to be, and what they want to accomplish. Mr. Mamdani, I think, is an interesting breath of fresh air. I am not a democratic socialist, so I don't align with his views. But what I do align with is the fact that he went out and he campaigned with everybody. He was open. He didn't close the door to dialogue, to different communities. And he went out and he said, the system is broken. When the former governor of this state, who was credibly accused of sexual assault and harassment and other things, is now the person we're looking at making mayor of the city. And people agreed, and they turned out, and they sent Cuomo home packing. That's what we need to do all across this country. We got to get involved. Remember the first words of the preamble to the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Stop. Read the Declaration of Independence. We're going to celebrate July 4th next week. Our 249th birthday as we head into our 250th. Okay? So I want you to think about, I really want you to think about this, and I want you to talk to your kids about this and your grandkids about this. Because you remember in America, like I do, only a decade ago, where a president could never conduct himself or herself like this, ever. You couldn't work at Walmart, at McDonald's, at Target, at any place in this country and talk about a female reporter and call her a dog on social media, as he did Abby, as he did Yamich, as he did April Ryan, 3 black women who he went after in his first term. You couldn't talk about someone like that and be a leader at any company, in any industry, at a university. And yet we allowed the President of the United States to act like this. I don't know what's wrong with us, but something is very wrong with us. And so I want to, again, I wanted to hop on and express my outrage and my concern about this past week. I've got a great column coming out. I'll be in print this weekend in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and then released on July 4th to the rest of the country. And I talk about where we are at year 249 as we head into 250. And I hope it's something you'll read and think about. And I hope you'll check out the Redefining Freedom Center, my new freedom here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, where we are trying to build bridges and redefine and reassess and reimagine what freedom means and what it looks like for us in our time. Very important. But quickly, back to a couple things. What happened to President Ryan at UVA is disgraceful. And I cannot believe that Democrats and Republicans alike, particularly the governor of our Commonwealth and others on the board, did not raise holy hell that the President of the United States of America was again abusing his power and authority by threatening the University of Virginia, which always ranks in the top 2-3 universities in the country for public universities. Always in the top 2 or 3. The University of Virginia was started by none other than Thomas Jefferson himself. It was his brainchild, his hope to create a space where there would be free discourse, where people would develop into leaders, that they would take on public affairs and civics and make the Commonwealth a better place, as well as the world a better place. That is not what happened the other day when a president of such an esteemed university is forced out by the President of the United States and his behavior and his tantrum throwing and his threats about DEI. Has anybody taken a look at the Trump cabinet lately and seen the absolutely appalling DEI for white males and white people? I'm just going to call a thing because it is true. Pete Hegseth is an idiot. He's dumb. He's not very smart. He's a drunk. He's a womanizer. The President of the United States can't even read a teleprompter properly. He doesn't even know when the Civil War ended. I'm not making this up. Fact check me. The Secretary of Education is a former wrestling executive. She doesn't have a clue the facts about what's going on in education in the 21st century and doesn't care. This is where we are, folks. This is where we are. If we continue down this path, there will not be an America in 2026. We will be something ugly, something else, something that we've watched from afar for hundreds of years as the world has envied us as that shining city on a hill. That's over. So what happened to President Ryan ought to be a warning to what could happen to every other president of a public university in the Commonwealth and around the country. You need to buckle up. This is not okay. And we need to take to the streets, and we need to take to the opinion pages, and we need to stand up and let our state senators and state reps know that this is not acceptable behavior. And we will not tolerate it as Virginians. Now, to this birthright citizenship issue. The Supreme Court came down with a case on Friday, and it was a mixed bag as ever, but once again, it was on partisan lines, 6-3. The 3 liberals versus the 6 conservatives. That is not what our founding fathers meant for the third branch, the judiciary, the Article 3 branch, to do. They are supposed to be the nonpartisans among us. They are the umpires. They call balls and strikes. They interpret the Constitution. They do not make laws. They do not make policy. That is not their job. And that is exactly what they've been doing since they gave batshit crazy boy, as I like to call him, Pompadour Poopy Pants, when they gave him carte blanche to run wild and basically be a criminal and say that there are no checks on him. Go back to Alexander Hamilton. Have you seen Hamilton? If not, you should. Watch it if you haven't seen it. But go back to why they created the government that they did. Why Madison and others created this Constitution as a check and a balance on a rogue executive, because America doesn't do kings. There are no kings here. It's how we started out of rebellion to a king. And we better start remembering that, because when you're born in this country, or like me, born abroad to 2 parents serving in the military, or one serving and one's a spouse and they're citizens, and you're born in an army hospital or on a base, you are a U.S. citizen at birth. And nobody ought to be able to take that away from you. Nobody. It has caused fear and worry. It has broken families. We're going in the wrong direction. Folks, I'm going to close with this. Right now as I speak, there is a funeral going on in Minnesota for the state representative and her husband, who were murdered in their home by a MAGA right-wing lunatic Trump sympathizer. Check it out. Don't believe me. The same kind of guy, by the way, that took a shot at Trump last year. And he himself gave up his life. He missed. But at the end of the day, we're not paying attention to the homegrown domestic terrorism that we have going on right here. We're looking at immigrants and we're othering people. There's a statistic that was put out by the Justice Department. Over 8,000 murders and crimes that were committed last year in the United States of America, over 8,000 were committed by white men, mostly, some white women, and then broken down with other racial groups, much smaller. But the smallest group, 29 of those people, were immigrants. 8,800 white people versus 29 immigrants. I want you to think about that. You gotta start fact checking. You gotta stop watching this bullshit news and this stuff that feeds you a pack of lies. Do not forget that Fox News was sued for $1 billion and settled for $787 million because they lied about the 2020 election. They lied. They abjectly lied about the results, that it was rigged. It was a lie. And they paid $780 million to avoid going to court and possibly getting a $1-2 billion or worse judgment against them. You got to start thinking, folks. Democracy isn't free. Freedom's not free. You got to fight for it. You got to want it. You got to dig around. You got to look. You got to lift up things. You got to look under things. You have to be intellectually curious, and you've got to participate. None of this is going to change unless we participate. None of it. So I'm done with my Saturday morning rant now, my Saturday afternoon rant. A lot more to say, a lot more coming, but I'm going to keep raising my voice. I might get deported. I don't even know at this point, and I'm not joking. Because the way we're headed, anybody that pisses Trump off, anybody that dares to stand up to him is going to get attacked. Or maybe thrown out the country and sent somewhere else. Okay, well, I guess it is what it is. So if I can raise my voice, you can raise yours. If I can be involved, you can be involved. If I can be part of change, you can be part of change. But you've got to do something. You've got to get up and you have to do something. This is not a time for sitting on your ass. This is not a time for opting out. This is not a time for acting like this doesn't affect you. Because just like Nazi Germany, open up the Diary of Anne Frank and read it, her opening words. There are bad things going on outside. Wow. There are bad things going on outside right now, folks. There are bad things going on right on our social media, right on our phones, right on our TVs. This is televised. As Gil Scott-Heron would say, the revolution won't be televised. This one will be televised. It will be. It's on our devices. It's right in front of us. The question is, will you, will I, are we going to participate? Are we going to participate in saving this great country that we love and making it better and making it freer for everybody? Or are we going to let a bunch of right-wing, whacked out, pissed off, angry miscreants, their populism is dangerous. It always has been, it always will be. Because these are just people with pitchforks and they're angry and they're mad and they're pissed off and they just want it all the way they want it until it bites them in the ass. And it's biting all of us right now. So time to do something, time to saddle up, time to buckle up, let's go. I love you guys. I'm going to go now. Please comment, give me your thoughts. As always, I'll do a Substack later this weekend. And I promise to keep raising my voice. You have my word on that. Have a good rest of the weekend, guys.